When Ada, a 26-year-old Nigerian woman, suffered a heartbreaking stillbirth, she thought the worst was behind her. But just as she was trying to heal, she discovered that her trusted colleague, a man who once comforted her, was spreading cruel rumors that her pregnancy had been fake. In a small office where gossip spreads faster than truth, Ada found herself isolated, mocked, and doubted. Yet she refused to disappear quietly. With the ashes of her child close to her heart, she stood face to face with the man who betrayed her and reclaimed her dignity. This isn't just a story about loss. It's about finding courage in the darkest moment and choosing truth over shame. Hi, story lovers. You've just stepped into Chige's Story Hub, a place where stories touch the soul and remind us of life's hidden truths. Some will make you smile, others might make you reflect, but one thing's for sure, you'll always leave with a message. The morning sun rose quietly over the quiet streets of Ibadan, washing the air in gold. Ada sat on the edge of her bed, her hands resting on her stomach that used to be round just weeks ago. The walls of her small one-room apartment still smelled faintly of antiseptic and grief. The hospital bag sat untouched in the corner, a cruel reminder of what should have been a beginning, not an end. It had been 2 weeks since the miscarriage. Her world had fallen apart that day at the office. In that very moment when she felt something wet trickling down her leg, only to look down and see her cream-colored skirt drenched in blood. The panic that followed was beyond words. Her colleague, Lucy, had been the one to rush in when she heard her cry out. Ada could still remember Lucy's trembling hands helping her clean up, whispering over and over, "Don't panic, it go dey okay. God will not let anything happen." But something did happen. The baby didn't survive. At the hospital, after hours of tears and prayers, the doctor came out with that calm, careful voice that only doctors who have delivered too much bad news can manage. "Madam, I am so sorry. There's nothing we could have done." Ada didn't hear much after that, just the hum of the air conditioner, the distant beeping of machines, and her own heartbeat pounding in her ears. She went home that night with an emptiness she couldn't explain. She didn't want to eat, she didn't want to talk, she didn't even want to live. But life, cruel as it can be, kept moving. Her colleagues texted her to check up. Her manager, Mr. Femi, said she could take all the time she needed before returning to work. Lucy visited a few times, bringing homemade food and quiet comfort. And then there was Nathan. Nathan had been one of her favorite people at work, a kind, responsible man in his late 30s who everyone respected. He and his wife had been struggling to conceive for years, but Ada never imagined he'd become her enemy. The news came one Monday morning, a message from a colleague who had promised to keep her name secret. "Ada, please, I don't even know how to say this, but people are saying Nathan has been telling everyone your pregnancy wasn't real, that you faked it." Ada froze. "Wait, what?" Ada continued reading. "He said you pretended to be pregnant for attention, that you weren't even really sick that day you left work, that everything was just drama." The phone almost slipped from her hand. Her vision blurred, her heart began to pound so loudly that she could hear it in her ears. For a moment, she couldn't breathe. Her pregnancy wasn't real? How could anyone say that? Who would lie about something so painful, something that had almost taken her life? That evening, she sat alone on her bed and cried until she couldn't anymore. The room felt smaller, darker. The memories came flooding back. The morning sickness, the doctor visits, the ultrasound image she had saved on her phone, even the tiny urn that held the ashes of the baby she never got to hold. She whispered into the emptiness, "So whose ashes do I have then? Whose body did they remove from me in that hospital?" Her anger turned into shaking, then dizziness, and before she knew it, she passed out. When she woke up hours later, she was still on the floor. Days turned into weeks, and the office gossip only worsened. Even people who knew the truth, people who had seen her swollen belly, began to stay quiet to avoid taking sides. Nathan, the same man who once told her you'll make a wonderful mom, had now become the one tarnishing her name. Ada couldn't understand it. Until she remembered, Nathan's wife had recently had another failed IVF attempt. Maybe her pregnancy and now her loss had reopened old wounds for him. Maybe he couldn't handle it. Still, that didn't excuse his cruelty. One afternoon, she decided to face him. She wore a black dress and went straight to the office. Her hands trembled as she walked in. Conversations stopped as soon as she entered. Eyes followed her every step. Nathan was by the printer, pretending not to see her. "Ada," he started, his voice awkward. She cut him off, almost gentle but angry. "Why are you telling people my pregnancy was fake?" He swallowed, avoiding her eyes. "I just said what I thought was true." "What you thought was true?" Her voice rose. "You saw me, Nathan. You were the one who told me to go home that day. You saw the blood. You told Lucy to call a cab." "People lie, Ada," he said, voice low. "I've seen it before. I don't believe you." She laughed, a cold, bitter laugh that made everyone stop to listen. "You don't believe me? You think I'd cut myself open for attention?" She reached into her bag and threw a hospital envelope on the table. "There's my discharge letter. And here," she pulled out the small urn necklace from her neck, "is what's left of my child." The silence that followed was deafening. Even Nathan couldn't meet her eyes. She walked out before the tears could fall. That night, she stood by her window, staring out into the quiet streetlights. The baby's father had blocked her weeks ago, partying his pain away. Her family didn't even know she'd lost the baby. She was alone, but she wasn't broken anymore. Not completely. "Rumors will fade," she whispered to herself, "but I will not." And with that, she made a silent promise to go back to work, to face the whispers, and to keep walking forward. Because grief might shatter you, but dignity will hold the pieces together. If you were Ada, what would you have done? Ignore the rumors and avoid confrontation, or you stand up for yourself? Share your thoughts in the comment section. And if you enjoy this story, don't forget to subscribe on my channel, like, and share this video to your friends. Bye for now. See you in my next video.